Greetings from Guadalupe Mountains National Park. It is November 3rd. We are starting our park adventure today at McKittrick Canyon. Following this, we are going to head down to Freeholy Ranch and cruise around there, see some of the history, and then our last stop will be down by the visitor center. So each of the 3 stops that we have today have hikes of varying lengths. Here at McKittrick Canyon is a nature trail. Down by Freeholy Ranch, we have a springs hike that should take us to a couple of different natural springs. And then down by the visitor center is a short trail that takes us to an old stagecoach area. Nature trail today. They do have longer trails that are about 8 miles one way that you can do, but we're just doing this for sake of time. All right, we are at the start of the nature loop, so off we go.
We're about halfway through the hike so far. It hasn't been too bad. For the nature trail, what it has is it comes up on all the different plants. It has placards by all the different types of plants that you'll see here at the park, and they're just pretty informational. So it's a good introduction to the kind of the plant life here at the park. And the view from up here is not too bad either.
That concludes the nature trail. The hike does take you up the kind of side of one of these little mountains here. To get you to the top, you have some switchbacks to get a view of the canyon, and then you head back down. The trail is fairly rocky, so mind your step or have your hiking poles with you. We have ours, but we didn't bring them on the trail. Didn't think that we would need them, but in hindsight, it would have been nice to have that little extra stability as we're walking over the uneven ground. But overall, just a good, as Derek said, introduction into the scenery, the plant life, and what it is like to hike here in Guadalupe Mountains. We are at our second destination and our second hike for today to do the Smith Springs Loop Trail. It's also right next to Freeholy Ranch, which we're going to explore once we finish the trail. But the trail today, we are currently here. We have 2 stops, Manzanita Springs, then it continues on to Smith Spring, and then we loop back to the museum here. So we'll see you at the first spring. So we have made it to our first stop, Manzanita Spring. It is a small pond behind us, and obviously water is vital here in the desert. So the people living here in the Early settlers probably relied very heavily on this. Another thing I wanted to point out is just the vast difference in temperature. When we were over at McKittrick Canyon, there was no breeze, and even though it was only about in the mid-60s, it certainly felt hotter. Here we're still in about the mid-60s, but the breeze makes a substantial difference. All right, we'll see you at the next spring. So we have made it to Smith Spring. We did pass somebody on the trail earlier and asked them if it was worth it, and they said it was not very impressive. What I'm wondering is, as you're making your way here, there is a small little like waterfall drop-off that isn't all that impressive, that maybe he had seen and thought that was it. But as you continue your way up the trail, you do come to the spring. So we're going to explore it a little bit and see what it looks like. So overall, I would say that this spring is worth it. Smith Spring. It's nice to just sit here and listen to it. The water is super clear, and it's a nice sized pool that's just running down the mountain behind us. Next stop, Freeholy Ranch. We made it back to the car, took off our packs, and then walked the short distance over here to Freeholy Ranch. So the ranch was originally established by the Rader brothers in the 1870s, and they lived here for a little while with some livestock, and then in the early 1900s the Smith family moved in. So I'm guessing, even though I didn't read it, that they're obviously the ones that discovered then the Smith Springs, after which it was named, that we were at earlier today. So now it's time to just walk around here and explore some of the buildings that remain. Behind me is the reservoir for Freeholy Springs. The sign says that it generates 6 gallons of water per minute. This building is the spring house. It says that the spring water kept this building cool to maintain fruits and vegetables. So that's what was stored in here at the cooler temperatures. This schoolhouse was built in 1925 and used into the 1930s. At most it had 8 children who attended school here, and at one point the Smith family did hire a teacher. They were paid $30 a month, and they also received room and board and then a horse that they could use. The house behind me would have served as the main residence for the different families that moved and settled into this area, beginning with the Rader brothers. And then in 1972, Guadalupe Mountains became a national park, and the first park ranger lived here from 1972 until 1980. The original barn is no longer standing. The one behind us was built in 1944 and is actually still used by the Park Service today to occasionally house livestock and hay. While we are by no means history buffs, we do certainly enjoy when the national parks have these little tidbits of history that you get to walk around and explore. It really brings you back to the time of when people were living here, what their living conditions were like, and how they thrived and survived in the area. On to the visitor center. All right, we have made it to our last stop for today. We are here at the Visitor Center and also the start of the Pinery Trail. It's just a short paved trail that takes us to the ruins of an old stagecoach station from 1858. Once we finish that up, we're just gonna jump really quickly into the Visitor Center to grab our patch and our sticker. Let's hit the trail. There are only 2 buildings left, so there's not much to see of what there used to be, but you still get a chance to walk around and see the area. This station was part of the first overland mail route that traveled from St. Louis, Missouri to San Francisco, California. It described it as an arduous 2,700-mile journey that had to be completed in 25 days. So they averaged about 120 miles per day. And with that, they usually had about 9 passengers and 12,000 letters that were being transported, really trying to connect the East and the West Coast together. Last stop, Visitor Center for our patch and sticker. That'll wrap up our time here at Guadalupe Mountains National Park. Overall, I say that, you know, it's a nice park to come out and explore. It's very reminiscent, I think, for us of Capitol Reef in Utah, where you get to learn the history of things, and that really is fascinating. I think as much as we enjoy hiking, getting that historical piece of things is quite good as well. We were able to get our park sticker, our park patch, and a bonus sticker that says See America's National Parks. So off we go to the next park. We'll see you on the next adventure. Bye.